My name is Alina Kraus. I'm 32 years old. And until last Monday, I believed something that almost ruined my life. I believed that if you stayed long enough, worked hard enough, fixed enough problems, eventually, people would respect you, not tolerate you, not use you, respect you. I was wrong. It happened at exactly 7:18 p.m. I remember the time because my phone lit up on the table. Just as my brother said my name. Alina, not sis, not even Alina. Can we talk? Just Alina. Flat. Controlled. Like I wasn't family anymore. Like I was already outside. The conference room felt different that evening. Not in an obvious way. Nothing dramatic, but something subtle had shifted. The lights were slightly dim, even though we always kept them bright for late meetings. The blinds were halfway down, cutting the city view into thin, cold lines, and the air felt staged like a room waiting for a performance. My younger brother, Daniel, stood at the head of the table. That alone was strange. Daniel didn't stand in meetings unless he was trying to prove something or hide something. Usually, both. Our father sat to his right, silent, still, hands folded in front of him like he was attending a presentation he didn't fully agree with, but wasn't going to stop. That was the first real warning because my father always had something to say, advice, criticism, control, but tonight, nothing. Then I noticed the others. A woman from HR, I barely knew, and the company's legal advisor. That's when something cold slid into place in my chest. Not panic, not fear, recognition. This wasn't a meeting. This was an outcome. Let's keep this efficient, Daniel said. His voice was steady, too steady, like he had practiced this more than once. He didn't look at me when he spoke. He looked at the folder in front of him, the one he kept flipping open and closing like it mattered. We've reviewed current leadership structure, he continued, and we've decided to move in a different direction. Corporate language. Soft words for hard decisions. I leaned back slightly in my chair. My fingers resting lightly on the table. Still calm, still listening. And your role, he said, finally glancing up, is being terminated, effective immediately. There it was. No build, up. No explanation. No hesitation. Just removal. For a moment, the room went completely silent. Not awkward. Not tense. Just empty. Because everyone in that room knew one thing. This wasn't about performance. I'm sorry, what I said. My voice didn't shake. It didn't rise. It didn't break. It was precise. Controlled. Professional. Daniel shifted slightly, just enough to show discomfort. A business decision, he said quickly. Nothing personal. Nothing personal. That phrase, that empty, rehearsed shield people hide behind when they're doing something deeply personal. I studied his face, the tight jaw, the slight tension in his shoulders. The way his fingers tapped once against the folder before going still. He was nervous. Good. On what grounds? I asked. A pause. Not long, but long enough. Performance concerns. This time, I did smile, just a little, not out of amusement, but disbelief. Performance, I repeated slowly. I turned slightly toward the HR representative. Is that what's documented? She hesitated. That was all I needed. I looked back at Daniel. 3 months ago, I said calmly, you were about to lose the East Coast supplier contract because of compliance gaps. His jaw tightened. I fixed that. I shifted slightly in my chair. Not aggressive, just steady. Last year, I continued, the bank flagged irregular exposure in your accounts. A flicker in my father's expression. There it was. Recognition. I restructured that too. Silence. And your biggest investor, I added, the one who almost walked out because of risk concerns. I leaned forward slightly. I'm the reason they stayed. The room changed, subtly, but completely. Because now the truth wasn't implied. It was spoken. No one interrupted me. No one corrected me. No one denied it, because they couldn't. This isn't up for debate, Daniel said, sharper this time. There it was. Control, slipping. I leaned back again, relaxed, almost detached. And in that moment, everything became clear. This wasn't about removing a weak link. It was about removing the one person who could see where all the weak links were. I knew the numbers. The contracts, the timelines. The risks they kept pretending weren't real. I wasn't just part of the system, understood the system. That made me dangerous. You've already decided, I said quietly. Yes, Daniel replied. Then why am I here? Another pause. Longer this time. Formalities, the lawyer said. Of course. Documentation. Paper trails. Controlled narratives. They weren't just firing me. They were rewriting the story of my exit. I nodded. Slowly. Then I stood up. No drama. No raised voice. No anger. Because here's the truth most people don't understand. The moment you stop reacting emotionally, you take away everyone else's control. All right, I said. Daniel blinked. You're just accepting this. I looked at him. Really looked at him. No, I said calmly. But I'm not stopping you either. That confused him more than anger ever could. I picked up my bag, closed my laptop, removed my ID badge, placed it on the table. A quiet, final sound as I turned toward the door. The HR rep said softly, "Security will escort you out." I paused. Just for a second. Then I said, "I know the way," and I walked out. The hallway felt normal. To normal. People typing. Phones ringing. Someone laughing in the distance. No one knew. Not yet. And for the first time in years, I felt something unexpected. Not lost. Not anger. Relief. Because something inside me had already shifted. For years, I had been the one they relied on, the fixer, the stabilizer, the invisible support holding everything together. And now, for the first time, I wasn't responsible anymore. I stepped outside the building at 7:26 p.m. 8 minutes. That's how long it took for them to erase me. Or at least, that's what they believed. Because what they didn't understand, what they had never truly understood, was this. I wasn't just part of the company. I was the one who knew how it actually worked. And systems like that, they don't collapse when someone attacks them. They collapse when the person holding them together simply walks away. That night, I didn't call anyone, didn't explain, didn't react. I went home, put my bag down, stood in silence for a long moment. Then I walked to my desk. Opened my laptop. And logged into every system they forgot I still had access to. That's when everything changed. I didn't rush. That's the first thing people get wrong. They think moments like this are explosive, emotional, immediate. They're not. The most powerful decisions, they happen in silence. My apartment was quiet when I got home. Empty. Just still. The kind of stillness that lets you hear your own thoughts clearly for the first time in years. I placed my bag on the kitchen counter. Didn't turn on the TV. Didn't check my phone. Just stood there breathing. Because for the first time, no one needed anything from me. No emergency to fix. No call to answer. No mess to clean up. It should have felt strange, but it didn't. It felt clean. Then I walked to my desk, opened my laptop. And logged in. That part mattered, because people like Daniel always think power is loud. Titles. Meetings, decisions. But real power is access. And they forgot something very important. They removed me from the office, not from the system. My credentials still worked. Of course they did, because I was the one who designed half the access protocols in the first place. I opened the internal dashboard. Everything looked normal. Green indicators, active transactions, pending approvals. Perfect. I didn't touch anything immediately. I just observed. Because when you understand systems, you don't start by breaking them. You start by identifying exactly where they depend on you. And in this case, the answer was everywhere. Vendor approvals, compliance verifications, investor reporting chains, escrow confirmations. My role had never been visible, but it had always been central. Daniel ran the front. I ran the structure. And structures, they don't scream when they fail. They crack. Quietly. I opened the vendor pipeline. First. 3 payments scheduled for the morning. All marked as pre-approved by me. I didn't cancel them. That would have been obvious. Too aggressive. Too emotional. Instead, I removed my authorization. One click. That's all it took. The system didn't reject the payments. It simply paused them, flagged them for RE-verification. Subtle. Professional. Completely justified. Next, I moved to investor reporting. There was a quarterly update scheduled to go out. Draft already prepared. My name was still attached. I stared at it for a second. Not with anger, just clarity. Then I removed it. No replacement. No comment. Just absence, because absence creates questions. And questions create pressure. Then came the big one, the deal, Daniel's flagship project, the one he'd been bragging about for weeks. A major expansion contract, Time-sensitive.high. Value.fragile.I. Opened the file. Reviewed the status. Everything depended on one thing. Final compliance. Confirmation. Mine. Without it, the deal didn't fail, it stalled. And in business, stalled is worse than failed. Because stalled creates doubt. I leaned back in my chair, looked at the screen, and thought about something simple. 12 hours ago, they decided I was unnecessary, so I made it true. I withdrew, not emotionally, not dramatically, professionally, completely. Every system I touched, I stepped back from. Every process that depended on me, I removed myself from. No sabotage. No destruction. Just absence. And then, I closed my laptop. That was it. No long speech, no revenge plan. Just one quiet decision. If they didn't want me there, then I wouldn't be there. At 8:47 a.m. the next morning, the first crack appeared. I didn't see it. I heard it. My phone buzzed. Daniel. I let it ring. Then again, and again. By the third call, I smiled slightly. Not because I was enjoying it, but because I understood what it meant. Something had already gone.